Jen Lewis, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Good to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Of course, of course. I had some financial questions for y'all. I heard that y'all do Financial Peace University at our church, and I wanted to start with asking, what has that been like for y'all? Has there been a key takeaway you've gotten from doing that course? And what is sort of a common misunderstood idea about money people have going into the course?
Those are really good questions. I'm going to go ahead and start off.
So when it comes to the Financial Peace University, there is a lot of value from it. So it sounds like what we've seen is, you know what? I think the more I work with people on money in general, and when it comes down to our lives, I think it comes down to like one word, a lot of it, which is intentionality, right? Kind of general word, nothing new, super appealing about the word, but it's so true. Like when people start really focusing in like on their money, they start changing like anything, like health, your relationship with your spouse. It could be just anything. Like you just start to make those changes. But when it comes to the Financial Peace University class, yes, we've done it at the church for a few times. We've done it a few years.
Not so much in the past, 5-6 years though. But we did it a lot beforehand.
We've kind of started doing like our own type of class and teaching just because we wanted to, some things we just wanted to teach a little different. We wanted a little bit more emphasis on scripture and just like some other things.
Yeah, some other focuses with finances. But all in all, the course is great. And we still encourage people to take the course because it is an intentionality to actually start to look at your finances and see what's happening. So you made a great point about intentionality regarding finances. And I just want to add to that. I think people, one of the misunderstood things is that people think it's going to magically get organized or magically going to happen one day. It's like, without that intentionality, it's always going to be somewhat of a chaotic experience, unorganized, living paycheck to paycheck. And you have to be intentional. You have to put a focused lens to pay attention to it. And that's a part of intentionality. A lot of people do feel like, I grew up in a tumultuous family where finances was a problem. I'm going to get older and it's going to magically get better. No, you're going to it's just going to be the same thing with you, unfortunately, if you don't decide to be intentional about taking a course, be intentional about connecting with someone that can teach you about money, because money is a tool. And just like with a hammer, you don't teach somebody what to do with a hammer.
Somebody's going to get hurt.
Someone might get hurt. You're going to use it wrong. You're just not going to know what you're doing. You're never going to, that nail's going to be sitting there sticking out of the wall or not even in the wall because you don't know what to do with it. So we can go on and on about that, but I think those are some really good points about money.
I think one last thing I throw in there, intentionality when it comes to a plan. Like it gives you a plan, right? The class is great because it gives people like a plan. Especially people like me just want to outline it gives you, okay, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this, like emergency fund and pay down your debt. And just like, oh, okay. Like nobody ever taught me this before.
Correct.
And so it's really helpful in that regard.
Yeah, because your money is finite. And a lot of people don't get that. They're, checking their account on their phone before they purchase things. They don't understand why money is gone, but they're swiping away. So it's a skill that you have to learn that is finite and you have to put a plan behind it. So I'm tagging on with what he's saying about the plan. You got to.
Yeah.
There's no other way. Even millionaires and billionaires have a plan. Corporations have a plan. They have to. So
for sure.
Oh, that's a good answer for the first question.
It's great. So to just kind of like summarize what y'all are saying, the most misunderstood concept about money people have is intentionality. They're not intentional about the way that they spend. They're not intentional about what they do with their finances. And that intentionality comes from a lack of planning when it comes to where their money's going and where they're putting stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's so many misunderstood things. I feel like it's hard to pick one, but I guess that would be at least one. At least one, I would say.
1, 2, 3 kind of what. And like I know we're talking about FPU, but Jay also we've been financial coaches for 13 years now. I can't believe that long. About 13 years between teaching FPU, teaching our course, Mastering Your Money by Epic, and also doing financial coaching. So we do one-on-one coaching with people now too, or 1-on-2, because sometimes it's 2 of us, sometimes it's 2-on-2 with the couples or singles, whatever. So we really get with FPU, we're not as intimate with people with their finances. So it's kind of like we're teaching a course, okay, this is how you do but it wasn't until about 4 years ago when we pivoted to, or 5 years ago, until we pivoted to he took the mastering, what's the course called? Sorry, with Financial Peace or Dave Ramsey.
Coach Master Training.
Yeah, Ramsey Master Coach Training. He took that. That allowed us to be a lot more one-on-one, like I said, intimate with people, with knowing what's going on in their lives. And I'm just saying that to say, like, we really understand from our journey, because we weren't well with money as well, with learning what's going on with people and their money. And I feel like it's partially a counseling job that we have, because it's really essentially teaching people about money, but also hearing their experiences, which is sad and distraught. And it's been a learning and growth area for us to be better counselors to people.
I would like to add something, but I don't want to over answer your question, so I can save it for later.
We're over adding. You're going to
You can say whatever you like.
Oh, I think one big thing is settling into a lie about money. It's like there's so many kind of misunderstandings of it, but I think the best thing is the biggest thing is like not being educated about stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to do student loans in order to go through school, right?
Yep.
That would be an example. Or one thing, when some people might have the mindset, well, I'm always going to be bad with money. Yeah. I'm always going to struggle, or this is just how it is.
Stress, yeah.
The government's going to take care of me when I retire. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of what you said about not having a plan. You just believe that everything is just going to fall into place, like when you turn 65. And unfortunately, that's not true, right? And there's a lot of sadness around it because of it. But yeah, if we learn earlier about how money really works and break a lot of those lies and myths and try to get a plan together, that way I think we will avoid a lot of crises. Like people are like, well, I'm this age by now, I didn't do A, B, and C. Well, why didn't you do A, B, and C? It wasn't because when you turn 40, all of this stuff was just supposed to happen by now. We didn't plan right. We didn't know. We weren't educated.
That's that magic I was talking about. Like, it's just going to all fall into place. It's not.
People kind of think that when they retire, or like when they reach the end of their life, they just think that everything's going to be all fine and dandy, and they have their Social Security and they have their Medicare and whatnot, and that they'll be perfectly fine.
But I would even say, like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, it sounds like you're saying they don't realize the impact that not planning for the future will have on them.
Yes, that's a good way to summarize it. And I would say not even retirement, just like it'd be my age, like middle age, like 40. If you just figure you'll be in a better place, but if you didn't plan, and that's what happens, unfortunately. You're just like, how did I get here? How do I have like hardly any money in my retirement account?
Yep.
And it's unfortunate.
Yep.
For people who are in their teens, young adults, people kind of in my age group, what are some things that we can do right now to help us prepare for that future, and so we can be prepared and we're not in the situation that we've just discussed here of in kind of this chaotic financial situation?
So that is a great question and such a valuable question. And I want to start off with a little younger than you because wait, I don't even know how old you are.
I'm 20.
You know what?
I'm 20 years old.
You're 20. So I want to go a little bit younger, like about to graduate from high school, right? And I want to go a little younger because Jay touched on it already about those student loans. You know, people carry student loans for 20 years, 30. I know somebody with 30 years, you know, still paying off their student loans. And it starts there. Don't believe the lie that you have to take out a student loan to pay for your schooling. Okay. Please. I mean, in 20-year-olds, they could be starting college as well. We live in this myth that schooling has to take place in 2 years for your AA, 4 years. It has to be 4 years because if you don't do 4 years, it's just non-existent. 8 years for your doctorate, I think, and then whatever else. No, 6 years for your master's, 8 years for your doctorate. I'm here to tell you, take as long as you need to get that AA. Work. Pay for your courses as you go along. Because what people think, oh, I have to get it done in the 4 years because I want to be with my friends, But unfortunately, a lot of those friends are walking out with student loans that they're going to pay for the next 30 years. We say, take your time to get your AA. It could take you 3 years maybe to get your AA because you're paying as you go. But what's the result of that? You won't have a student loan. So when you start working that job, you can actually have money and you're not paying $200, $300 a month for student loans. That's a big bill. And then people defer, and that interest is racking up. So we know people who are paying $1,200 a month for student loans because they've deferred them so long. So 4-year degree, no, take your time. Maybe it takes you 6 years. You'll still get to walk the stage. You'll still get that degree, but it just took you longer because you were more secure and you were more wise in paying as you go. Same thing for your doctorate. Let it take and the higher degree you go, the more expensive you're paying. So the larger the bills for the loan and longer it's going to take you to pay off. So whether it's 10, 12 years to get your doctorate, it sounds like a long time, but at least you're living your life, you're paying as you go, and you can walk away with your degree. Now, I know some programs might make that a little more challenging, but all in all, there are colleges is competitive out there. There are colleges that actually work with an adult schedule that are more lenient with you. Yeah, go ahead and just take 2 here, 3 here, whatever. So I would say to your question is think outside the box when it comes to college. If you want to go to college, great. If you want to go to trade school, great. With AI, let's not get into that right now. But we can go for days on AI, but think outside the box when it comes down to getting your degree, because you don't want to walk into adulthood with thousands of dollars that you owe, that you're forced to pay. You can only defer so long. And then they start, what do you call it? Siphoning? What do you call that when the government starts extracting from your paycheck? I forgot what it's called. We know people that are dealing with that. Like now you don't have a choice. Now they are in your paycheck, taking what they want, and you don't have a say. $1,200 a month, you don't have a say. They're in your paycheck. So that's one thing. I'll pass the baton to you.
So what age are we talking about?
Well, 20. He's at 20.
Are we talking about, okay, now we're talking about
Yeah.
like 20. Well, just to add to you the teenager stage, I think there's a lot that parents can do.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking about the actual person, teenagers, 20 years old, 25, 35, 45, you have to get educated. I think that's the first thing. And the cool thing, the interesting thing is it costs a lot less for education about money than it does actual schooling. And, and I feel like if people understand money, you can get ahead in a different way. Like if you just go through 4 years of school, which is cool, it's nothing wrong with getting your degree, but you don't understand how money works, then it's you kind of work against yourself.
That's really good. I mean? Yeah.
But if you are intentional and you like pick up a book, books are free at the library. Get a library card, right?
YouTube is free.
Just pay your fines off first. Or YouTube, right? Like you get a good book recommended by someone, or you look to see what's out there. You don't have to accept all the information because there's a lot of different views about money. But you start reading, you start getting educated. Maybe ask somebody who you think may be good with money. That's really important. Right? So if you wanted to learn how to play basketball and you had an opportunity to learn from Michael Jordan, or you had the opportunity to learn from somebody down the street from you named Michael Jordan, those, you probably want to pick the superstar who has the experience, right?
Correct.
So you want to make sure, okay, who am I learning from and what am I learning?
Don't learn from broke people.
Yeah. So I think just getting educated. I mean, any age really can do that. Just reading about money and just be like, oh, okay, that's how it works. And then you start putting those things into practice, right? Yeah. Don't go spend all this time reading
and
or giving the money, going to a money conference or something, and then you don't follow it. So I think it's pretty simple. It's just about getting those things into place. Another thing I would say is
and habits. I think it's more habit than place.
So education, practice, and the last thing I would say, which is important, is make sure you have some form of accountability. Especially if you're not good with money.
Mentor.
Especially if you think you may be thinking that you are good with money, but what does that mean? Because if somebody might think they might be a good saver, but if they're just putting money into a savings account, they're probably not maximizing their money.
Yeah.
They might be good at saving because they're cheap. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're good with money because you're cheap, right? You might think it is, but what are you doing with the money you're saving? And are you giving as well? I think that's important. But having some accountability, whether that's a good financial advisor, it's a mentor, it's somebody else who can keep you on track, a good friend, not a friend who's going to encourage you. Hey, I know you've been saving up that money, but there's this concert. No. So help keep you focused.
Yeah. And that's great. And I want to just say, add on to the mentor piece. Mentorship is important. Sometimes it's pride that stops people from wanting to ask for help. We all need help. Like Jay and I didn't come from families that were well off. We had to learn, and we had to humble ourselves and learn a new way to do things. You don't have to do things the way your parents did or your grandparents did. Like, you can make your own pathway to finances. And I think that's just having that insight should open the door for you to say, okay, I need to learn something different. Put extra different tools in your toolbox. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Well, I think we talk about it's innate. You grow up saying, oh, I see my parents fighting about money and I'm not going to do it. But if you don't ever pause to put different tools in that toolbox about money, you're going to pull out the tools that you already had. And that was what arguing. You see your parents argue, you're spending money left and right. You don't know what you're doing. So I think it's just super important to have the mentor, have the accountability that's going to hold you accountable. And you guys can go so far with your money if you have the right tools, the right people around you, because it's that circle that you're spending time with. If they're all spending money, they're all taking out credit cards, just spending money left and right, you're going to be the product of that. You're just going to do that too. So get around the right circle. And it's not magic. It takes hard work and discipline. The Word of God does talk about discipline, and it's discipline to manage your money. And you can go super far. You can.
That's good.
And I think you were going to say this, but I was just going to say this about I don't want to say trick, but a lot of people think that he's saying about saving money. Oh, I'm saving money, so I'm good. No, that's good. You should spend, give, and save. Great. But what an even wiser thing to do is make sure your money is making money. You do want to shift into more of that passive income a little bit, to where money is making money, not just with investments, not just with, your savings account giving you what, 0.25%. But if there's a way to have some money, make more money, that's how the wealthy get wealthy, because their money is making more money in some type of financial business, whether it's an entrepreneur, like whatever it is. They just make sure that is happening.
So for people to grow their money in a passive way, they need to have savings tools, and some of those savings tools would be, it sounds like you're saying, multiple streams of revenue from businesses, from investments, from
I think you're still thinking.
Yeah.
Having multiple sources of revenue contribute to your savings. Is that an accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay.
There's so many different ways that that could happen.
Can you
go ahead.
Talk about some of the ways that people can
Sure.
do that? Like, what are some good, like, high revenue things people can do to get a lot of money saved?
Sure. I'll start off and I'll pass to you. I know you said large, but I want to start small, because in society today, on social media, it's all about that fast dollar. Quick money, quick money. And the Bible actually talks about fast money.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We want to encourage you to start small. You have $100. How can you flip that $100 into $150? Because money is finite, remember. So how do you start the habit or the skill set to flip money? So I have $100. I'm going to just say something rather simple, which you probably see on the social media. Why don't you, of that $100, you take $10 and you go buy a package of water bottles that you get in the store, for $3? You get like 24 for $3. Take $3 of that $100 and go to an event, a soccer field, or maybe you might have to get permission, but grab some ice. That's a part of the investment. Grab a cooler. That's a part of that $100 investment. And now you're walking around offering people. So if you get some sodas, some water bottles, that will multiply that $100. So you look at the initial, you have to do some calculation. Look at the initial investment, $3-4 into 24 pack. Maybe you got $48 or what, 48 bottled waters. And you start to sell bottled waters and soda can, like I was saying. And how much revenue could you get from that? That money will grow. And then you take the profit from that, and then you start to do that again. But maybe you go to a couple of fields. That's just one example.
Make sure you got permission too. Otherwise,
you want to get permission.
Paying the police ticket is gonna
and a lot of times
pretty quick.
A lot of times people don't care. They just like, well, you charge $1 for a water bottle, like already 24, you turn that $3 into what? $21, like $21 profit, because you just turn your $3 into $21. A lot of people don't even think that's small. That's small, but it's powerful.
Are you talking about just actively ways to gain revenue, or are you talking about passive things?
Well, I'm not talking about passive right now. I'm just talking about how do you multiply your money. Multiplying your money right now, okay? And then you want to go into Melt the Ice. Great book, by the way, Melt the Ice. I think Emius is his last name, but about ticket sales.
Oh, well.
That's not passive, but.
Will you finish answering? Because I don't want to cut you off, though.
No, I'm just talking about multiplying your money right now.
Multiplying your money. Okay, so some ways you can do that. The book you're referring to called Melt the Ice. I don't remember the name of it out there. Really easy read. I think you've read it. I don't never read the whole thing.
Yeah, that's really good.
But it's just some it's like 9 different ideas of things you can do to kind of generate extra money.
Money making.
One of those things where, I think there's a difference between semi-passive and passive, right? Passive is like you're essentially not doing anything. Semi-passive is that's what I would call maybe like a landlord, where like you're not trading your time for it, but there's still going to be more work required, collecting checks, or you got to do maintenance, or you got to be on call. You know what I mean? That's what I view as kind of like semi-passive. But ticket sales is just an example, because there was this show that was coming to town, and I don't remember what show it was actually.
Yeah.
But there was some show, and I was just like, I think a lot of people are gonna want to see the show, and so I just bought extra tickets for it. I don't even think
we weren't gonna go to it, but it's a part.
Like, I think other people would like to see it, and I made a good amount of money just reselling those, and I didn't do much work. That's without me really researching the ticket industry, and just like I was just like, hey, I think it's going to be a good show. People are going to want to probably see it. So I'm just going to buy some extra tickets. And I was able to sell them later on.
Online. So, all this is done online too. So it's not like you have to walk around and do this. It's,
at least a good amount of them I sold, but I still made profit. So, that's just one example of multiplying your money. Also, when it comes to more of the passive, straight passive, that would be more like the stock market, right? But if some people don't feel like that's safe, and some people don't want it. There's different ways of investing in the stock market as well, to where like you're more secure. You're not going to lose money. You might not make as much, but you may not lose as much either, right? Or anything. But also, like, instead of putting it in a regular bank savings account, something simple like maybe a type of money market account, people can use their money into that, and that'll gain over time. And there's things you can set up to where you won't lose money, but it's not like a huge amount you'll gain, but at least it's doing something. Your money is increasing, right? While you're not doing anything. It's just another form of passive income.
Yeah, passive income, that word, I feel like that is used very loosely out there. There's really 100% passive. I think the first thing that comes to my head is you need a large amount of money to do like co-investing. Maybe somebody's flipping houses, but you want to put some money in. All you're doing is putting in the extra money to make that happen.
Yeah, that's good.
And then you're going to get a return, but you typically need a good amount for that. Like that to me is passive.
It's passive because everybody's just doing work.
Yeah, they're doing the work. Somebody else is leading the project. What else? Because like we learned, like we were looking into Airbnbs. Like we have 2 Airbnbs. But there's still work that has to be done. So it's not 100% passive. And so I just want to be cautious with using the word passive. Like I know we were going into ticket sales, and either you can make cookies, like flip something into cookie sales or something. It takes work, but you're still multiplying your money. And it could still be a stream of income. Like, I know we kind of went into that. Go ahead.
Digital products too.
Digital products. Oh yeah.
If you have a skill or something people can learn from, there's a bunch of teaching sites. You can create a class or create a course.
But that's not passive because you got to keep making stuff to make more money.
One course and you just put it on there.
Correct.
That's what I mean. That's more passive. I'm sorry. Did we answer your question though?
Yeah. So your advice for young people to help them grow what they have and increase their saving capacity is to take part of what they make, figure out a way to invest that into something, whether that's a business or a stock market or something that will then generate them extra money that they can then add to that pile of money they already have, and then they can kind of that repetition of that is the best way to earn a lot of money. And the more you can spend, or the less you can spend for the greatest amount of profit is the most ideal. So you're talking about you can spend $10 on 3 packs of water bottles, and now you have about $70 of revenue from all of those water bottle sales if you can get them all sold. And if you just keep repeatedly doing that, you end up growing a lot of extra income that you can then save.
You got it. No, that's a great summary of it. And again, I think it goes back to the largest amount. It's good to start small. it's so good to start small so that you can gain some skills with it, learn how to, maybe you can hire somebody, pay them $50, and now they go off and they do that for you somewhere else. Like, you gotta, it's a business mindset that you will start to develop. Like, okay, how can I expand this cookie business or the water bottle business or the ticket sales? Like, oh, you know, there's so many, like, that was fairly easy, the whole ticket sale thing. Like, it, but we made some really good money off of it. Those opportunities are out there.
It's just basically, I think the mindset is, how can I turn this something that could be a liability?
It's a risk. It's a risk. Yep.
Well, I mean, like, you have $20 in your hand, right? How can I turn that into an asset? Or how can I turn what I purchased into an asset?
Great.
Right?
Point.
What'd you say about the baby money? The baby money, it's the mama money. You never spend the mama money.
Oh yeah, you don't spend the mama money, you spend the baby money. So
Can
like
you explain mama and baby money?
So like, you know, like he said, you have $20, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take some of that money in order to invest. So you take the $10 of that $20, buy your water bottles, right? And then that other $10 becomes mama, okay? And that $10 is what you keep flipping over and over again as you keep getting more and more money. And the thing is, I think where you were going is, like, you could start spending the profit that you get off of it, or you keep reinvesting all the money. So I made $70. Now I'm going to take that whole $70 and buy more water bottles. And now I'm just using that as an example. More water bottles. Now you're making a greater profit. Now you made a lot, $300 just per se. Now I'm going to take the $300. So it's like, that's still the baby. You grew that $10 to $300, and even though maybe you put $10 back to mama, so mama's $20 over here, but that $280 or whatever is still multiplying. So you learn to spend the baby money, not the mama money.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But to summarize, you know, you get educated, you figure out a plan first.
Yes.
Because if you don't have a plan, you'll just be making money, and then it's like, what
Spending
happens?
it.
Like, you can spend it. You know what I mean? If you have a plan and you work your way backwards, you sit with a financial advisor or a financial
Yes.
coach or somebody who can guide you with money according to your goals that you want to accomplish. And it can be like, okay, this makes sense. This is doable, because plans, like, people like fitness instructors, not just because they make you feel like you're out of breath and make you feel like you never want to go back again. They like them because they help them to get a plan and see results, right? And people come back because they're confident that they can get to where they want to go. So people are not going to continue something or habit or follow a plan if they don't believe that they're going to get to where they want to go. But if people believe where they're going to go, they're going to come back to their fitness instructor. They're going to do burpees, which can be awful. I don't know who thought of that.
Painful.
But, let me not just go up. Let me not just say down. But we're going to do everything the body can do. Almost. No. But anyway, you have to get educated and then just have a plan, because the plan helps to keep you in place. Yeah. It gives people hope, right? Because when we talk to people, we're coaching them. We provide a plan for them. And plans are what helps people move forward and have confidence and we provide hope because of that. We'd be like, hey, based on these numbers, if you keep doing this and you do what we tell you to do, then you should be out of debt by this date. And you can pay this off by here. And sometimes, a lot of times we see people exceed those time frames, because it's like, hey, we're hungry. You want to do this?
Yeah.
So.
Agreed. And I mean, you're saying a lot of good stuff, because, you know, a lot of people they come to us with a lot of questions, like, oh, what should I do with this money? What should I do with this? I'm about to get $10,000. They come to us with these questions, but Jay and I are I think we're consistent. It's like, well, what's your overall plan? Like, if just because you're going to make this $300 on the weekend, but like, what are you doing with that? Is that to go towards a house? Is that to go towards a car? Is that to go towards getting out of debt? Like, it's crucial that a plan is in place so you can just have the results, have the dreams and goals that you're aiming for. So I think you hit it. That's a great point. You got to have a budget. You got to have, a lot of people don't like that word, but millionaires have a budget, you know, You got to have it.
Hmm. So I want to move on to
Yes, sir.
debt and credit cards because I think that's a big. I think there's a lot of people who either have a lot of debt or they have like a ton of credit cards. How should we be looking at credit cards and debt? Are there healthy, is there such a thing as like a healthy debt and an unhealthy debt? And how should we see
Mm.
credit cards and like for people who maybe they want to optimize for credit card usage and they like want the cash back and everything? How should we see those?
That's a great question. So when it comes to debt and good debt and bad debt and credit cards, there's a lot of differing opinions on it. And I'm gonna say opinions because I think in the end that's what it comes down to. Okay, so our background, followers of Christ, we follow what the Bible says, right? That's what we pursue when it comes to finances and when it comes to all areas of our life. There was a point which I believe that like, well, debt is just you get into debt and you're basically in sin, right? Because the Bible warns against that. You shouldn't be doing it and everything like that. But kind of going through scripture and going through what it actually says, we've come to the place to where it's wisdom in your financial decisions and when it comes to debt, when it comes to should I take on this debt, should I not take on this debt, but also I don't think the Bible kind of forbids that. It
Okay.
says like it gives you guidelines and it also says it wouldn't have said things like, hey, you're the lender, not the borrower. It wouldn't have said that if somebody comes to you in need and wants to lend. And also I think in the Old Testament, it talks about one of the first times I believe that is mentioned, it says, hey, somebody can borrow, but if you let somebody borrow something, don't try to take advantage of them and like exact interest
Yes,
and try to
God.
get interest and stuff off of them. Like don't do that person like that. So when it comes all that to say, like I don't feel like the Bible is essentially anti-debt in a sense to where it forbids it. I think that there's guidelines on it. Right.
We know there's guidelines in there.
So when it comes to that being said, when it comes to the good debt, bad debt, people might define that differently. I think it's about how will this decision affect you and what's the risk of taking this on?
Where's your heart too?
Right. So if I go, let's say that I'm struggling with money. I have some debt I'm already in. I want to go to get a new Tesla and I just want it. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't have the money in cash, right? I'm already in debt, but I want it. So it's like, if I just go there and they happen to finance me for whatever reason, maybe somebody made a mistake in the car place that day and they give it to me, then I'm just like, okay, I got this car. The thing is like, if I can't make that payment, then like what will happen, right? What's going to be the consequence of that decision? Versus if I'm in a good position, let's say I may not have a whole lot of money in the bank, but let's say I do have a retirement. I do have some other things that I may be able to pull from. Let's say I still go in debt to get this Tesla, right? I get car payments, which are kind of another thing. But let's say I get car payments, then it's like, if I have a backup plan in my mind, hey, if I can't pay this off, I do have enough money in my retirement to pull from and pay this off completely. But I want to take the lower car payment right now. I don't want to take everything out of my retirement to get this car. I'd rather deal with that car payment and have that money as a backup in case I really, really need it versus like, because if I, trying to maximize my money right now. Well, if I pay that car payment, I can have enough to do something else that maybe I'm trying to do another investment.
That's good.
And these are not the strongest examples I'm giving you, but essentially, if I could kind of sum up kind of good debt, bad debt, which I can talk about credit cards next. Good debt, bad debt, I think it's about, realizing what position will you be in. Like I wouldn't put my house up I don't want to put my house up at risk, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if I can't save my house and put in my position, hey, I'm going to do this. And if this doesn't work out, my house is going to be taken. I don't think that that's a wise thing for my family and taking
Right,
care of my
yeah.
family. I don't think that's the best management move, right? And that's essentially my answer when it comes to that. And
Yeah, and I want to add into there about here. Sorry.
So can I'm
Sure.
a little bit confused. So
Go for it.
so when you're thinking about going into debt for something, whether that's a car or a house or whatnot, what you need to be thinking about is not the object, so not the coolness of the Tesla, but rather, is this something, what is the consequence of not being able to pay for this thing? So if I miss a payment on the Tesla
What's gonna happen?
and it jacks it up to twice the price, you're
Mhm.
in like a very sticky situation, and you don't want to see your money you don't want to see your money as a total sum, and rather in parts. So you don't want to say, oh, I have $50,000 in my retirement and that's enough money to pay for this Tesla, so I'm just going to go out and buy the Tesla, and if something happens I can just pull from that. Is that
Yeah, that's bad.
a good
Wait,
summary?
well-
Or
well, basically, I'm not saying that is necessarily should be the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, if you're going to put yourself in a position of debt, right? Like some people use credit cards, which this is the kind of credit card use I can fall on and agree with. Like, if you know it's something that you can take care of, right? You're not going to get into the habit of using this. Some people are like, hey, I want the points, whatever, and they have the money in their account
Correct.
to pay for whatever it
Yes.
is they're getting, like groceries, right? But I'm just going to put on a credit card. And then after that,
I'm gonna pay it right away.
not everybody has that discipline. Not a lot of people have that discipline. And that's part of the issue, because credit cards are easy to use. Like you said before, it's like you view money as finite. I mean, infinite.
Yeah.
So you view it as like, well, I'll never run out. And that's something as the Western culture in America is dangerous, because it's like, I could always get a loan. I could always get AmScot. I could borrow it from somebody. I could get a car. You drive down the street. There's a bunch of places that you can get a car maybe today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a dangerous thing. If you don't have self-control, you don't have, like what I said earlier, a plan, because it's just like, you can never run out of money, essentially, right? And some people do reach all the way to the end of that road to be like, no, there's nobody who will let you borrow money. I can't get money from anywhere. And that's a tough place to be.
Yeah, I wanna backtrack. I'm sorry, just make sure you're answering the question. So sorry. Excuse us for one moment. But I just want to make sure we're setting you all up, your generation, for success. The first thing I would say, Ben, and I know 100% he agrees, you have to have good habits. You have to understand how money works. You need to have a strong budget before you even consider getting any debt, credit card for points, a credit card just because you get that Costco paycheck, you get that extra money at the end of the year, and you pay it off with great habits. So number one, get a budget, establish great habits. And I would say, make sure that happens for like a good 2-3 years, where you're getting yourself out of debt, and you are establishing good healthy habits. Then you can consider a credit card. One of the things, like you could consider like maybe a duplex. So I know sometimes people want to buy a house. Instead of buying a house, you buy a duplex. So you can rent out one side and you live in the other side. That's passive income. But I just say that because duplex will be more money. But could you make the payments for that entire house? Versus, oh gosh, if I don't have someone renting, now I'm going to AmScot to get some money. Now I'm going to put money on a credit card. Like, no, have you established habits in order to be self-reliant in your finances, knowing that God ultimately is over you. But you're not going to put yourself in debt with buying a larger house to make more money. So essentially, I just want to make sure it's very clear. You have to have good habits. Don't do this and you're still learning, or you're still struggling to pay off debt. Don't go get a credit card. Absolutely not. 100% no.
I mean, so somebody can live debt free, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's fine too. You know, if they live debt free, then there's ways to do that. Somebody can go through their whole life living debt free completely.
Yep.
And that's fine too. You know.
Yeah. Does that answer it better for you?
I think so. So make sure that people have the basics down. They develop good financial habits. They create a budget. They stick to that budget till it
Absolutely.
becomes a good habitual thing. And then after you establish the basics, then you can think about optimizing for points or credit card rewards and where to shop and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes people will be in situations where they don't have the money, like if it's something medical or something they need to pay for, but you better have a good plan in place, you know, for like if you're going to do that, like if you're going to use that credit card, like, I mean, some people are in dire situations, but you just need to get a plan to get out of that situation as soon as you can, because that they're going to come for you. They're going to come. They just want their money, right? And it's right to pay them because we've borrowed it. We agreed, hey, I'm going to pay you back this money.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that for them coming to get their money, right? It belongs to them.
You agreed to it.
But absolutely, what my wife is saying is just you need to have those financial habits in place and everything. Otherwise, you can't even make a plan to pay off debt. Because if you're so used to spending money, how are you going to know when it's time to pay it? You're going to have enough money to do it. You probably won't.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any? Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I was just trying to clarify what I was saying about the 401 and everything like that. I wouldn't try to take money out your 401 intentionally. I was just saying, like, if whatever you're trying to do with your stuff doesn't work out, like let's say you do go get a school loan, and now you better be aware that if you drop out or you don't finish or you don't get the job you wanted, you're gonna have to just be paying that thing off, which is not ideal. You know what I mean? You have to really know what you're getting into. And so is that like good debt or is that kind of bad debt? I mean, it's kind of how you look at it, you know?
Yeah, I think bad debt is anything that you can't pay. Like you should have a plan in place and just know like you could injure yourself. And what does that look like when you can't work? Like you have to use wisdom when you're considering debt. Again, the Bible is very clear about how to manage debt and how we should, how we should treat it. So it's like you should have a plan in place.
Especially when it's affecting other people too.
Yes.
You know, co-signing is always a bad idea, I would say. That's what the Bible speaks against.
Yes.
It's just foolish to do.
Yes.
So.
And I think we talk about debt too. It's because, give you a scenario story here. Like if you want to, like, you could be great with money. You have a budget, 2 years. Now you want to buy a business or you want to start a business. Businesses take money. You know what I'm saying? So in order to you can create a plan in order to start a business or purchase a business, you're going to have to get in debt like that. Unless you have a great grandfather that's going to leave you money or something, but most people don't have that. So yes, there's an opportunity to leverage debt in a healthy way to start your business. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
David is definitely more just talking about focus on family, which is great, and just not getting in any debt and just living, pretty much living that mundane life of work, go to sleep, come home, work, go to sleep, because you're just a normal life. But if you're talking about owning a business, all that kind of gives another layer of how do you leverage that?
Yeah. So like have a really good plan. If you're going to get into debt, let's say go to college, don't go into like, let's say medical school thinking, oh, I'm going to be the best doctor in the world because I'm going to be making $3 million a year. And so if I go into like $900,000 of debt, then I'll be perfectly fine because I can pay all that off. Do you think, because I'm currently trying to start a clothing business, and one of the things that, and I've basically had that kind of dilemma is I mean, right now I'm small, and so the money I make, I can pay for the business, and I can do that thing you're talking about where you pay a little bit of money for the clothing and you can sell it at an upcharge and you can keep turning profit like that. But when it comes to scaling, and now you're, instead of making a $10 decision, it's now a $10,000 decision. What is advice you would give for people who maybe they're there and they have that decision to make and they're kind of weighing the risk of, if I pull out this loan for $10,000 and I invest in this product, theoretically I can get enough sales to make that $20,000 and then I can pay that loan off and also make a profit. Where is kind of that line between taking a risk and being stupid with
good question
doing with debt here?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a good question. So summarize the scenario one more time for me.
So in a small business, when you go to scale, sometimes you're scaling outside of what you can reasonably have. Like you're pulling out a loan because there's like a office building or something that you're trying to construct. And after you've constructed that office building, in theory, you're going to be able to scale the business about hiring employees and everything to make money in excess to both pay off the loan, at a minimum pay off the loan, and then also roll a profit from it. Where is kind of that balance of taking the risk in taking out that loan for the potential benefit and just kind of being stupid with it and pulling out maybe too much?
I'm glad you go ahead.
Is there like a good way of discerning that difference?
Great question, man. I'm glad you talked about risk, because that's exactly what it is, calculated risk. Because nothing is promised tomorrow, right? Stock market flip, recession, zombie apocalypse, whatever you think might happen. I don't really believe there's going to be a zombie apocalypse.
That's for another podcast.
Another podcast. So, but it's like a lot of things can happen, and when you take out debt, you're always betting on tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So I think the Bible might call it surety, actually. But that's what I'm saying. Like, is there a way for you to get out of that tomorrow in case it happens, or are you just going to deal with the consequence of, hey, if that building, something happens, permitting or whatever holds you back, and you got that money and you're just paying this, can you afford to pay that? You know, what does that look like? But to more be precise with the answer to the question, it is a calculated risk. I love what the Bible says. In a multitude of counselors, there's safety, essentially, right? So you start getting counsel. Don't just get up in your own head, because we always think, not always, but a lot of us always think we have good ideas and what we're doing is right. But that's probably why there's so many failed business. That's probably why there's so many failed ventures out there, because we think in our own heads. But getting sound counsel from proven people, look at, you know, when I look at a risk, I think I'm more conservative. So I like to say, how safe is this? Like, what would be my backup plan in case this doesn't work out? What is this going to look like? Is my family going to be living on a street? You know, I don't think in your clothing situation, it would be that dire. So it's like, you have to, I would say, get counsel, right? Is your strategy proven?
And
like, has this been done before?
And not just by the YouTuber who's selling a package on how to, not just by that.
Yes.
Sorry, go.
Let me show you how I made
$10 million. Oh my God, there's so many of them out there.
every like third ad, man.
They're searching and it picks that up and now it up and it's like,
invest in my cryptocurrency.
yeah. So I want to add to that, Ben, and it's the same thing I keep saying. You know, any type of risk, let's try to make the wisest risk as possible. Taking a good step back, getting a mentor. Let's look at your money now. Have you been budgeting? What does that look like? Let's separate your personal money from your business money. What does that look like? The sales that you've had, was it from your family members? Was it from like you need to look at the bigger picture of this investment. Now, 10,000, to me, that's not a lot, but it can turn a lot very quickly with interest when you're not making payments.
Yeah.
So I just want to be very cautious. So I would say start small, start with the basics, ABC. Get your budget in place, get a plan in place. Okay, could I pay this? Like Jay was saying, could I pay this loan off and this building or whatever off if I don't make a shirt sell or a sweatshirt sell? And it's important to start off at home. Like, start small, start selling stuff from your home, and make sure the sales, like I said, are outside of your family and outside of your friends. What does that look like? Making sure you're marketing. What does marketing look like for you? What are I don't know if you're going to go into E-Myth, but there's a book that is amazing called E-Myth.
E-Myth Revisited.
E-Myth Revisited. I forgot the
How do
author.
you spell that?
The letter E and myth. Myth.
Michael Gerber? Is that who?
I can't remember. But it's an entrepreneurship myth. And they break down all the different aspects of a business that people don't think about. And that's why we have so many failed businesses out there, because people aren't thinking about, when you have a business, you still have marketing, you still have finances, you still like a CFO, you still have production. Like it's all these pieces that, again, I would tell the person who is considering starting a business and investing in 10,000, let's take a step back. Let's look at the greater scale of a business and making sure you have investments in each of those. And like I said, start off at home because it's going to be easier. But yeah, and there's another book about what's about the I'm going to think about it, but I'll let you go ahead.
Michael E. Gerber is the author. Michael E. initial Gerber, like Gerber baby, is the author.
Thank
E-Myth
you.
Revisited. But it's cool because just like she said, the story starts out with a baker, and people said, "Hey, you should be a baker because you're great at making pies." And then one day she's crying on her baking her store floor because nobody told her that she had to be an accountant, customer service, she had to be HR, she had to be the actual baker, she had to be the supervisor, she had to be the cleaner, she had to do all of these roles, and she didn't know how to put together business. Because a business is completely different if you're really trying to run a business. So the advisors that you want to talk to may not necessarily be some of your peers and your friends, like, "Hey, what do you think about this idea?" Get a business coach. Is it worth hiring a business coach if you got a $10,000 investment going, or 20,000? Probably so. Actually, there's a place local to us that they give you free mentoring, and those people will talk to you about a business plan, and they'll set you up with somebody who's like a similar business, and they'll tell you, because they're honest with you. So I would say
Score.org.
Yes.
Score.org.
Score.org.
It's free. Yeah.
I
think I'm looking at
but yeah, it's kind of basically free business mentoring. They'll help you with like your business plan, and they have free resources. So I would say
yes,
that's another thing you can do. But talking to somebody who's experienced, once again, the same thing about money, like talking to somebody who's experienced, educating yourself, calculating a risk. In the end, like, is this something you want to jump into? I'm going to say this though, regarding something that you said, when it comes to debt, is it kind of necessary to use debt to have a business? I would say two things. One, it could depend on the type of business. Maybe it's amount of money that you can never afford in your life, or maybe there's another way to get funded, right? The second thing is, a lot of times when we get into debt, because it just comes down to the timing, right? It just comes down into, for example, if there's like $100,000 opportunity that somebody presents to me today, it's kind of like, okay, if I don't have the money on hand, I would have to go into debt, right? To have the opportunity.
Yeah.
Or if it's like an opportunity that you could always do, then I could save up from probably the next like 10 years, 5 or 10 years, and do it. Right? It's just a timing difference. Do I want to save up? Do a lot of people want to wait? Probably not, because an advantage of not waiting is that investment can grow throughout all of these 10 years. But the advantage of waiting is you don't have as much risk, because it's all cash. And if it doesn't work out, yeah, you spent all that money, but at the same time, you're not going to have that debt way over your head. So a lot of debt decisions does come down to, do we want to wait or not? Or is there another way to fund this besides my own pockets? Will other people invest into this? You know, can I get money other means? So
I know that was like a weighted answer. It's just because, 10,000 today, 20,000 tomorrow. Like you might have a better opportunity in $20,000. So hopefully you can summarize. I don't know if you use AI just to summarize all the different pieces of what we're saying, because it's all important. It's all important when you consider $10,000, which
I'm
is
not
a
saying
lot.
don't do it. I'm just saying get educated, get some help,
Mentor.
and asking people like, hey, what do you think of this? Because we don't know what we don't know.
Correct.
Especially in the business world. They're just like, what they're gonna might tell you, oh, what if this happens? And they're just like, oh, I didn't think about that. But doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't do it. You might be able to find a way around it. It's just something to think about, like,
Right.
oh, how can I problem solve this? Or it might change your mind and be like, you know what? I don't want to deal with that. I want to deal with employees or whatever it is. So it's good to get information.
If y'all could go back to whenever you were 18 and redo how you did money, what would you do differently?
Maybe I'd play a lot more video games, become a YouTube star.
I would.
When YouTube first opened up,
I know. I would have been there. I would have been there. We got into that. We were there right when it started.
There's a lot of good. Hey, they don't have to go to college. They just play the game. People watch them play the game. A lot of money. But that's a great question.
I think for me, I can go ahead and start. But I think for me, I had a 401k with Disney. Was like my first job, and I didn't understand anything about investment accounts. And I had it at 16 actually, and I had money in there. But Disney was sending me these letters about, my parents didn't know much about it either, but Disney was sending me all this, no, okay, we're going to close it out. We're going to close it out. I was like, whatever. Like I imagined what that money would have been if I would have rolled over, if I had someone to help me, have the knowledge of what to do, put it into another account. And because I was working, I started working at 16. I could have easily kept that account some type of way. I would totally be a millionaire by now. I would have, but I would have been more wiser about financial, my 401k and 401k back then. The other thing, someone teaching me about investments, I would have started, I'm talking about outside of my 401k, but other investments, just wishing I was knowledgeable about that. And then also I worked since I was 16, and when I got married, I had nothing to show for it. I would have learned to budget and save. I would have learned to budget and save.
I think I would have been a lot better about investing. I think I was good naturally. I'm a saver, so I just save money. That's the easy part. And I thought because I was a saver, I was pretty safe. But that's not always like the best thing. It's just I definitely budgeting, right? Watching. I think I would have tried to be. I wasn't that independent at 18. Probably not at all. I relied on my parents a lot. So I think I would have got a sense of independence, or not sense. I think I would have tried to be more independent, especially before I got married and took care of a family, because that's something I had to learn later on, which if you don't learn it young, and when you get into a family, it can cause a lot of issues around money if you don't know how to handle money. So I think with me, I'm good at saving, and I think I like budgeting, but it's just about being independent. Before I got married, before I took care of a family, I would have done that. And I probably would have started investing in different things, like maybe real estate early.
I would have.
Maybe stock market. Maybe what do you call it? I might have started a business, and if it grew, start another business. Maybe got into that. Like when I was younger, when people would talk about business, I was an artist, so I just like when people talk about business, I was just like, you guys over there, paperwork. I just like creating, right? But I didn't understand, like, oh, that's why. It's not until like my age now, like I'm understanding why owning businesses and people do all of this multi-invest. Before, it just looked overwhelming, and it looked like something I could never achieve, and it looked like something I wasn't interested to, like, okay, business and wearing suits and all this stuff. But it wasn't like that. But now I understand, coming at an older age, like, wow, okay, that's what it means. Like, that's why with businesses, you can have something to pass down to your children. You can create a legacy. You can have more time freedom. You can have financial freedom. You can have, you can be a blessing. You can give more, which we want to be more generous, right? If we're broke and don't have a lot of money, we can't be generous, right? There's not much we can do, unfortunately. So it's not just like loving money. Let me get rich. But it's like, I can do all of these things. I can sow into other people's ventures. I can help other people in investing. I can be generous. I can take care of my family better. I can have more time freedom, which is, I think, a good form of wealth as well. It's not just working hard, because we learn, actually, another thing people misunderstand about money is, you work hard, you'll be all right. There's a lot of people who work hard, which are broke, or which are broke later, or don't have retirement, or don't have funding, or are still struggling. They work hard, but work hard doesn't necessarily mean financial freedom. You're in a good place financially. So,
if there was one piece of advice you could give to everyone listening right now, what would you say?
I think essentially for me, it's just pretty much what we've been saying consistently, and that is, be intentional about your money. If you learn the skill to manage money, you can go far. And a lot of people never learn that, or they learn it later on in life when they're struggling, because now they're forced to learn it. So I would say, learn to manage your money well, and learn and read. You can learn the most valuable information from, I would say, dead people, those books that were written by people long ago. Because one thing about money, the skill of money has never changed over these years. It's just a different way to make more money, different business opportunity. But the methods and the skill to grow it are still consistently the same. And it has been, I think, ever since the world began, whether they were using stones or whatever they used back then. So learn to manage your money. You'll go far. And learn to, like we said earlier, like the mama, learn to spend the baby money, not the mama money. Learn to grow the baby money side.
So the question, we could say one thing to everybody listening right now.
Yeah.
All right. Easy. Go to this link, download my PDF, $39.99. Then I'll get $1 million. But I think, the most important thing in our lives is God.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people follow that, but relationship with God is important. He loves us, and
Amen.
He redeemed us. That's why He sent Christ. And it's like, but that whole thing I think is important in a relationship, because God lays out these principles, which, if followed, they get you to into your purpose, really. That's really what it's about.
Good.
Because you can make a lot of money, you can do a lot of things, right? But is that really your purpose?
Yeah.
Right? We're not here just to make money and be comfortable. There's more to life than that, and I believe that it's not only what we do here, but it's like, I believe, like, He rewards us for eternity. So having that kind of education is another level of importance. For my people who do believe in the Bible, I think we have to focus on eternal rewards. Having a lot of money here doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. We do have to be careful about greed and everything like that. There's a lot of things we can do with money. So I mean, but also echoing my wife's point, you have to learn, right? Where are sources of financial education coming from? A lot of mine was hip hop growing up, right? Right? Just like what I learned about money. Oh, it's cool to be rich, get a lot of it, or whatever. You can buy watches, you can do all of that stuff. But what does the Bible say about money? You know, what's really going to help me to do what He wants me to do and honor God when it comes to the end. So that's what's on my mind. It's on my heart.
If people want to learn from you, go find out what you do, where can they go?
Cool. You go to I don't have a link for PDF, by the way, but you're going to go to www.epicliving.com, and it's spelled epecliving.com. And it'll have all our information, how to contact us about coaching. It'll have some cool testimonies about how we help people out, because we find that working with people one-on-one, we can hold them accountable, we can ensure results. And that's the best way we like to serve them, serve people.
And it is, just to be very clear, you'll see on our website it'll say nursing and dental hygienist. I'm a registered nurse, he's a dental hygienist, and we do target them, but we're open to help everyone. And that we've been helping people for years now, and you don't have to be a nurse or a dental hygienist for us to help you. But that's where you'll see the testimonials from people that aren't nurses and dental hygienists on our page.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
we had fun.
You. Yes.
Of course, we'll have to try to do this again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.